All right, we're back for more daily college basketball best bets here on Sunday, February 23rd. We've got some big time games today for college basketball, and arguably we're going to be doing best bets for the 5 biggest games of the day. We've got all big games today for the Sunday slate, at least for our best bets. And hopefully, again, we have a better day than yesterday. Now, yesterday started off really horribly, but we did close the night on a 4-1 run. Shout out to St. Mary's. The Gales going on the road and winning outright in Spokane, Washington. Again, not a positive day overall, but we finished the day off better than we started at least. Let's put together a full good day today. All right, that's how we're going to put this one. So again, folks, before we get into the best bets, make sure to hit that subscribe button down below for more daily college basketball best bets here on the channel. We still got around a month, more than a month here for college basketball in 2025. So make sure to hit that subscribe button down below for more daily college basketball best bets. And make sure to join us in a couple hours for our daily NBA predictions as well. We've got 10 games today in the National Basketball Association. So make sure to check that video out again in a couple hours. And also make sure to join us on the channel later today for our UFC Fight Night Cop versus Almabayev predictions. We went 8-4, I believe, with the UFC yesterday. Yeah, so and we're hitting on a 75% rate all year with the UFC, so make sure to join us at about 5 p.m. Pacific today for our Cop versus Almabayev predictions, and that'll be the final video of MMA on this Greedo Plays channel as we are moving to Greedo Plays MMA come UFC 313, Pereira versus Ankalaev. That is going to be on March 2nd, the first video on Greedo Plays MMA, so make sure to subscribe to that new channel as, again, we move all of our MMA content over to that channel. And again, we're going to have more specific MMA-styled content on Greedo Plays MMA, so make sure to join us over there. All right. Let's move on to the first of our 5 college basketball best bets for today. We told you, again, only big games today for us, and we're starting at Madison Square Garden in the Big East between Dan Hurley's UConn squad and, of course, St. John's. We're taking Rick Pitino and St. John's, all right? I feel okay with taking the Red Storm here. And again, this is not a coaching matchup. I mean, we're not picking St. John's because we think St. John's has the better coach, even though I think, you can make the case this season with Rick Pitino and obviously just the entire body of work. I mean, definitely all-time Rick Pitino is a better coach or greater coach all time than Dan Hurley, who just, obviously won back-to-back. But regardless of that, I'm taking St. John's to win the game at home, and we're taking them to cover the 4.5 points as well, right? St. John's either a 2 or 3 seed in the NCAA tournament. I mean, obviously, we expect them to win. Well, they're going to win the regular season crown in the Big East, and we expect them likely to win the Big East tournament as well. Again, we will see how that goes. But St. John's, again, projected to either be a 2 or 3 seed in the NCAA tournament, taking on UConn, a squad that's hovering at about, I believe, an 8 or a 9 right now. I mean, again, UConn's going to get in the tournament. I'd be very surprised if, I think they need to completely lose out. But even then, I think they'd probably... they'd lost to Georgetown, Seton Hall at home. They'd probably get bumped. Regardless, though, St. John's has been the better team all season long, right? UConn, again, an 8 or a 9 seed, give or take. I mean, the latest bracketology I'm looking at has them projected to be an 8 seed taking on Utah State in the first round. I'm not going to lie, I think Utah State could beat UConn. I don't know. The Mountain West is good. Anyways, the Huskies are coming off of a win against Villanova during the week. It was a good victory for the Huskies, right? They've split their last 4 games, though, right? Losing to St. John's at home in Connecticut. They then go to Creighton, pick up a huge victory, go to Seton Hall and lose, and then beat Villanova at home. But again, if this team's losing to Seton Hall, what's going to happen when they go to MSG to take on St. John's, right? The road games, again, it's weird because UConn, they did go to Marquette and beat Shaka Smart and that Golden Eagles team, but then they go to Seton Hall and lose. They went to Xavier and lost. They lost at Villanova, obviously beat them at home. But here's the thing, again, St. John's went to Connecticut and beat UConn this season. Now it's the second time around and UConn's got to go to their place. I don't think it's a great matchup for the Huskies. UConn's just been severely underwhelming this season. I thought they were going to be much better once they went into Big East play, right? Again, they were horrible. They had the meltdown in Maui or Honolulu, one of the two. They had the meltdown in Hawaii over Thanksgiving. They came back to the States. They beat Baylor. They beat Texas. They beat Gonzaga. They start off Big East play 4-0, but then they drop a game at Nova. They drop one to Creighton. They go to Xavier and lose, and it's just... I can't fully buy into Dan Hurley's team right now. And I get it. They dealt with the Liam McNeely injury for majority of, their early part of Big East play, but McNeely's been back, and sure, again, he's been good, but they haven't always been winning. Even when Liam McNeely is dropping 20-9, they lose to Seton Hall. Again, they need great efforts out of McNeely, like he performed against Creighton. They go on the road and McNeely drops 38-10 in a 4-point victory over the Blue Jays. Again, Liam McNeely has been by far their best player. Alex Caravan will show up in certain spots, same with Solo Ball, but there's not much consistency with UConn. They're nowhere near the team they were, obviously, the previous 2 seasons, and this year, again, St. John's is by far the best team in the Big East, and I don't even think it's really close. They're 14-2 all year in the conference. The losses come with a road loss at Creighton by 1, and then a road loss to Villanova by 2 points. No one has gone to MSG and beat this team in the Big East this season. It's a good St. John's squad. They've lost 4 games all year long. They've never lost at home. Their losses, again, Nova on the road, Creighton on the road on New Year's Eve, and then 2 neutral site games against Georgia, and then a double OT loss to the Baylor Bears in their 5th game of the season. St. John's is a good squad, man. They really are. They've got a couple guys who can get it done. Obviously, RJ Lewis is the guy you're looking at. Richmond's not horrible as well, even though he does not know how to hit a free throw. I don't understand. Kaderi Richmond is an all-around very good basketball player. I don't understand why he doesn't know how to shoot free throws. It's really weird. He's like a 50% free throw shooter. Regardless, though, this is a good St. John's team. Obviously, they're ranked 10th in the country, and we expect them to get things done here at home against UConn. If they were able to go to Connecticut and beat this team, I think we'll see the same exact result the second time around. Again, this is a tremendous defensive basketball team, man. St. John's can lock you down. That was evident in their win over Marquette, obviously, and that was early in February. But what have they done since? They went to UConn and won. They went to Nova, played a close game and lost, but they're coming off back-to-back wins now, a home win against Creighton, and they go, obviously, going to DePaul and winning is not the most impressive feat, but still, they go on the road and take care of business. That's what good teams do. They go on the road and they completely mop the floor with a team like DePaul, as St. John's beat them 82-58. Again, I love St. John's. I think Rick Pitino's got this team playing, obviously. They're probably going to be a 3 seed in the tournament, but if they win the Big East tournament, they could be a 2. We'll see. They do have to go to Milwaukee, Wisconsin to take on Marquette later in the year, their final regular season game. That will dictate potentially, of course, some seeding for the tourney as well. But we expect them to be the regular season champs in the Big East, and we think the St. John's Red Storm win at home and cover the 4.5 points here against the UConn Huskies. We go on to our second best bet of the video, and we go to the Big Ten, and we go to Bloomington, Indiana, to Assembly Hall, as we have got a rivalry matchup, obviously, between the Purdue Boilermakers, ranked 13th in the country, and the Indiana Hoosiers, taking Purdue. It makes sense, okay? Perfect buy low spot for the Boilermakers. I don't care how horribly Purdue's been playing. Indiana's not rising to the occasion. This is not I really like Purdue. I think they've been playing great ball. They haven't, right? 3 straight losses for the Boilermakers. They go to Michigan, lose by 2 points. They host Wisconsin, lose by 10. They go to East Lansing, lose to Michigan State by 9. Again, those are 3 really good basketball teams, right? I'm not going to deny that. They're not on fire by any stretch of the imagination. Purdue has struggled with good teams all year long. Their best win probably is that home win where they blew out Michigan. Other than that, they don't really have many other ranked wins, but it's not like Indiana's anywhere close to being ranked. Now, the Hoosiers are going to need a miracle to get in the NCAA tournament. Believe it or not, they're not as far out of it as you would think, actually. You'd expect them to be completely out at this point. I mean, I think if they beat Purdue, beat Penn State, go to Washington, they'd just probably have to run the table here. I mean, honestly, it's not that far. It's not that far-fetched, but they're not going to do it. Purdue, Penn State, they're not going to beat Purdue. But then Penn State, Washington, Oregon, they might beat Washington and Oregon. Both those teams suck. And then Ohio State at home, I could see it. They're not going to do it, though. Again, a Mike Woodson coach team is not going to run the table and make the NCAA tournament. It's not going to happen, right? And they're not winning this game. They're not going to beat Purdue. Okay, again, we saw this game earlier this season. Very close matchup, obviously, right? Purdue wins it by 5. What happened last year, though, right? Purdue comes into Bloomington. They beat the crap out of Indiana, right? Indiana's won 1 game since mid-January. It's not good, man. So the Ohio State game, they go to Columbus. We actually had Indiana in that game. They go to Ohio State. They win the game in overtime by 1 point. They're 5-3 in the Big Ten, 14-5 overall. They're a tourney team. At the time, they were a 7 seed. We were thinking, all right, if Indiana can just piece together some victories, they're going to get in the tourney. What do they do after that? They go to Northwestern, lose. They host Maryland, lose by 1 point. They go to Purdue, lose. Go to Wisconsin, lose. Michigan at home, lose. Somehow, they go to East Lansing and beat Michigan State. Still doesn't make sense. Mariner played an incredible basketball game in that one, Renew at 19-12. But then again, they go back to Bloomington. 9 days ago, they lost at home to UCLA. The Bruins are good. We'll get to UCLA in a minute. I get it. They lost to Minnesota earlier in the week, and Minnesota laid an absolute egg yesterday for us against Penn State. Ridiculous. Regardless, we will get to more UCLA Bruins basketball in a minute. But with Indiana, I mean, what, are we thinking this team can finally get over the hump? No, they're not. Again, this team has lost 7 out of 8. They're not just going to magically pick one up here against Purdue. I think Purdue blows this team out. Yes, it was a close matchup the first time around in West Lafayette. I think they come to Bloomington and just beat the crap out of this team. I think they do. You look at the first game again, it was competitive. It really was. But what happened in that game? Mackenzie Mbako played arguably his best game, not just of the season, but of his collegiate career. And it's rare Mbako plays like this. Mbako has crazy potential. He's going to be a guy based off athleticism and potential alone will be in the NBA or at least get picked to play in the NBA. Potentially the G League, regardless. Mackenzie Mbako in that loss at West Lafayette played his best game of the season, went 10 for 17 from the field, 3 for 8 from beyond the arc, but scored 25 points. He played pretty much the entire basketball game. That's the type of game they got at Mbako, which you barely see out of Mackenzie Mbako, and Indiana still lost the game by 5 points. Omar Ballo didn't play a bad game, and Ballo's been kind of their best guy all year long. Luke Goody's been really good as well, obviously. Sometimes coming off the bench, sometimes starting. They play Trey Galloway a lot. It's just, honestly, actually, Galloway played his best game of the year at Purdue as well. 15 points, 7 of 10 shooting. Again, though, I feel like Indiana played one of their best games all year long. I know they played really well at East Lansing, but you had guys contribute like Mbako, like Galloway, who aren't always going to do that every single game. And sure, again, Trey Galloway playing his 20th total game against Purdue. It's his final one. Maybe he'll actually show out this time. But still, right? Mbako and Galloway had monster nights when they went to West Lafayette, and they still lost the game by 5 points. I think Purdue gets it the second time around. I don't care the game's in Bloomington. I'm pretty sure the Bloomington faithful's already given up at this point. Give me the Purdue Boilermakers. Sure, they're going to turn up for this game, but still. They were embarrassed last year at Assembly Hall. They're going to get embarrassed again this year, and the losing will continue to happen inside Assembly Hall. Give me the Purdue Boilermakers to go on the road to Indiana and win the basketball game and cover the 3.5 points as well. Next up, we move on to another matchup in the Big Ten. Again, we said we'd talk about the UCLA Bruins, and here they are. UCLA at home at the Pauley Pavilion here against the Ohio State Buckeyes. Now, the UCLA loss to Minnesota is not aging well. Again, right, UCLA blows a lead against Minnesota. Dawson Garcia plays his ass off in that game. What happens after? Minnesota returns home to Minneapolis with a potential chance to, make a run at potentially the tournament, or at least make it close to get on the bubble. Minnesota returns home just to lose to the last place Penn State Nittany Lions. Great. Anyways, UCLA was up the entire game against Minnesota. They just blew it in the end. It is what it is. It's going to happen. I still believe in UCLA. I still think this team can make a run in the NCAA tournament. I think they just played a horrendous second half. They were up by 11 going into half against the Golden Gophers. And again, Dawson Garcia had a career night. He played the entire game. Garcia played all 40 minutes. He had 32 points, 9 of 15 shooting, got to the line 12 times, converted on 11 of those attempts, 8 boards. Again, it was Dawson Garcia's best game of his career, and he has a lot of good games for the Golden Gophers. I keep saying it, and I'm going to continue to say it. I don't know why Adai Mara does not play more for UCLA. He is a defensive presence. He's 7'3". The guy can easily get you 3 blocks in about 15 minutes of play. I don't know why he doesn't play more. When UCLA was playing their best ball this season, Adai Mara was playing 30 minutes. Sure, it was a combination of Bilodeau being injured and Mara was just playing really well, but they can play with both Bilodeau and Mara, but they don't do it. I get it, he was sick, but like, it's been 2 weeks since the reported illness for Adai Mara. I think he's fine. Why is he only playing 15 minutes? Don't understand. I don't get that one. This guy needs to play more. But I keep saying it with UCLA, and I'm going to continue to emphasize this. Sure, they can have bad games against Minnesota, whatever. I'm still taking them to win in big spots. Okay, this team has too much talent to not winning games like this and not to cover against Ohio State as well. 6.5 point favorites, that's okay. Again, all the talent on this UCLA squad. We're talking Tyler Bilodeau. We're talking Eric Daly. We're talking Sebastian Mack, Kobe Johnson, Sky Clark, Dylan Andrews, Adai Mara. Hell, even Lazer Stefanovic can give you some points sometimes. There's too much talent on UCLA for them not to succeed. And they're taking on an Ohio State team who may have had the most embarrassing loss all year long out of any team in the Big Ten in their last matchup. And no, number 2 is definitely Ohio State as well when they went to Maryland and got blown out early in Big Ten play. It was their first game of conference play. But no, their last game on Thursday, they host Northwestern, who is abysmal, and they get blown out by 30 points. 21 still, but 21 points on their home court, 70-49. Northwestern goes to Columbus and slaps them up. Ohio State's an embarrassment. They've lost 3 of their last 4 games. Dating back to February 9th, they go on the road, lose to Nebraska. They host Washington. Obviously, they beat UW. Back-to-back losses to Michigan in a tight one where they were, I think, slightly favored to win. And then a game where they lose to Northwestern at home. But here's the thing. Now they got to go to the West Coast. Now you got to take on UCLA. Obviously, that means you get USC later in the week as well. They will play the Trojans on Wednesday, but this is the tougher task out of the 2, obviously, in Southern California. I don't know. Again, Bruce Thornton was the guy for most of the season. Micah Parrish has had better nights recently. Devin Royal was good in the Michigan game. He was horrible in the Northwestern game. Again, Devin Royal scores 26 points in the Michigan game, 10 for 16 shooting. Comes back for the Northwestern game, scores 4 points, 0 for 4 shooting, 27 minutes. What is going on? It's just, this team's so inconsistent. Micah Parrish is probably right now the most consistent guy because Bruce Thornton is just, I mean, he'll score, but Parrish has likely been better, I think. Thornton hasn't been horrible, but Thornton hasn't really just exploded for a crazy night since the Maryland victory this team got. I don't trust Ohio State, simply put. I just don't. They're playing with absolutely zero momentum right now. They got to go all the way to California to play UCLA. Again, yes, Ohio State's going to be in the Big Ten tourney. Where do they stand in terms of, again, making the NCAA tournament? I'm pretty sure they're not in right now. I'm very confident they're not. Bracketology still has them in? How is this team still in? Ohio State's still a 10 seed? How? They lost to Pitt, non-conference wise. They lost to A&M. They beat Texas. What are their big wins? Well, at Purdue, I guess they beat Maryland when they were ranked. Damn, this team's gonna get in? Well, I don't know. They need victories. They got this team as a 10 seed right now. That actually blows my mind. I'm not gonna lie. Wow. I kind of just assumed they were out for now. I was just assuming they were a bubble team for now. Wow, they got this team playing Kansas in the first round. Kansas, Ohio State. Oh, what a shit show that's gonna be. The way those two squads are playing right now. My goodness. Yeah, give me UCLA to beat the crap out of this team. Like Oregon, I don't want to watch Ohio State in the tourney. Now, I know Oregon's going to get in. There's a chance Ohio State doesn't get in. We need to save everyone the time of day. We don't want to watch Ohio State in the NCAA tournament. I've seen it too many times. I'd rather watch legitimately Nebraska, who's a team who's out right now in the NCAA tournament. I'd rather watch SMU in the tourney. I'd rather watch North Carolina. I'd rather watch Boise. Hell, I'd rather watch Indiana. Nah. I would rather watch Indiana. They're not going to get in. Indiana's in the next 4 out right now. Who the hell is... What? I don't get that. I get Ohio State, but I think they'll start losing and they'll fall out. Regardless, give me the UCLA Bruins at home to win and to cover the 6.5 points as well in Los Angeles. We go on to our fourth best bet of the video, and we are going to go away from some of the big games. We will return to the Big Ten for our final game in a minute. But first, let's move on to the Missouri Valley Conference. We have the two top dogs in the conference, the Drake Bulldogs and the Northern Iowa Panthers. Drake, currently as it stands according to ESPN's bracketology, they are a 12 seed in the NCAA tournament. Northern Iowa, obviously, not going to get in that large. They are second place in the Missouri Valley right now. The Drake Bulldogs 14-3, UNI 13-4. Northern Iowa right now is on a run. They have won their last 6 contests dating back to their last loss on January 29th. And who was that to? On the road at Drake, they lost 66-52. What have they done since? They beat Missouri State on the road. They beat Illinois State at home. They beat the Sycamores of Indiana State. Oh, I forgot the Bradley win. That's a big one. And then back-to-back wins coming into this game. Murray State at home, and then a win on the road at Belmont. For the Drake Bulldogs, they were dominating the Missouri Valley. They did lose 2 games early in Missouri Valley play to UIC and to Murray State. They then proceeded to go on an 12-game winning streak in the conference, just to lose to Bradley at home last Sunday. They've bounced back since, beating UIC, a team that they lost to earlier in the season. And now here you go on the road in Iowa, in Cedar Falls, Iowa, to take on UNI, the second best team in the conference. I'm taking Drake still. I don't care. Yeah, I'm taking Drake. It's the second matchup between these two teams. Again, we talked about that matchup on January 29th, a big victory for Drake. I think they're able to do it again. The first time they played UNI, game wasn't all that competitive. It was a 14-point win for Drake. UNI, and this is the thing about Northern Iowa, they will have games where they'll put it on you, but the times that I've watched Northern Iowa in big-time spots this season, they have underperformed and under-delivered, at least scoring the basketball. They've got so many games this season where they just don't show up. And again, it's been their biggest games of the year. Hell, UC Irvine, the Anteaters beat them 80-60 when they played North Texas. I get it, UNT's not a horrible defensive team, but they play North Texas and lose 68-48. They play St. Bonnie's. Out of the A-10, they lose the game by 12 and only score 56 points. Hell, when they go play Southern Illinois on the road, I get it, that's not a huge game, but still they go on the road to take on Southern Illinois, they lose 73-49. The Drake game, they score 52 points. They are just a low-scoring team. Sure, they don't play horrible defense. Led again, Titan Anderson's one of their guys. Anderson still leads them in scoring with 15.5 a night. Jacob Hudson, their center, averaging 11. Trey Campbell, Leon Bond, their other scorers as well. But again, there is no consistency in their scoring. I get it, Drake sometimes will play these low-scoring affairs as well, but usually they do come out on the winning end of those. The one exception is the Bradley loss last Sunday, low-scoring contest. Drake ends up losing 61-59 at home. But usually in these low-scoring affairs, they do get the better of them. Hell, the UNI game we talked about earlier, a win on the road at Murray State 55-45, right? A win against, I know Evansville is nothing special, but a win against Evansville 63-40, right? They usually win these low-scoring contests. Again, if this game goes the way that some of UNI's games have gone, hell, even Drake's, I do think Drake's more well-equipped to win that low-scoring defensive battle. And I do think, again, Drake has the overall better scores. And obviously, that starts with Bennett Sturtz. Sturtz averaging 19 points a game. He's a very solid guard for this basketball team, put up 25 points in the UIC victory. Again, in the loss to Bradley, Sturtz plays 39 minutes. He scores 8 points, goes 3 for 8 from the field. When he scores, this team usually wins. Again, he had a huge stretch where he scored 20, 30, 23, 20, 25, 25. Again, Sturtz is an all-around very good player, but a very good scorer for this team. That was apparent, and I think their biggest victory of the season is still the game in Kansas City against the Kansas State Wildcats, a huge overtime win for Sturtz and the Bulldogs. And again, this is a team that's projected to be a number 12 seed in the tourney. If they lose the Missouri Valley, I don't think they're getting in as an at-large. I'll just be honest. They don't have, the resume like a UC San Diego does. And especially the Bradley loss does hurt them, and the 3 losses in conference as well. But I like Drake to get this one done. They're going on the road. It should be a competitive matchup, but I think stylistically, yes, the matchup does favor Drake. They are a good defensive team. They will out-hustle Northern Iowa if the game ends up going that way. I'm taking the Drake Bulldogs on the road to take care of business and just straight up win on the road here against the UNI Panthers. We go on to our final best bet of the video, and again, we return to the Big Ten. It is our third matchup of the day in the Big Ten, and we go to the Jersey Mike's Arena in New Jersey between the Rutgers Scarlet Knights and the USC Trojans. Give me Rutgers at home minus 3.5. I get it, Rutgers has been kind of disappointing the entire year, but you know why we're taking this team. Dylan Harper and Ace Bailey. Dylan Harper has been playing some phenomenal ball, though. If you watch the Washington game, an overtime victory for Rutgers, I'm not going to lie, UW, completely sold that one away. It was like Washington was trying to lose that one. But regardless, Rutgers ends up winning it in overtime. Dylan Harper, 34 points. Him and Ace Bailey are special. There's a reason both of those two are likely going in the top 5 of the NBA draft this season. That's how special these two are. And it's a shame Rutgers is very unlikely to make the NCAA tournament. They need a monumental push at this point. They would need to go to Ann Arbor and win, and go to West Lafayette and win, and also beat USC and Minnesota, and on top of that, likely make a run in the Big Ten tournament to get into the NCAA tournament. Actually, if they beat Michigan and Purdue both on the road, they'd probably get in, actually. Yeah, if they finish the regular season 17-14 and probably just win, they'd probably still need to win like 2 games. They probably need to win. No, they probably need like 1 win in the in the Big Ten tourney to get in, I think. Anyways, Dylan Harper and Ace Bailey are special, though. I mean, that's the reason why we're picking Rutgers. USC on the road. It's a team that just got blown out in their last spot, and I get it. Maryland's much better than Rutgers is, obviously, right? Even though Rutgers played a competitive game against Maryland earlier in the season. But regardless, a 17-point loss on the road against Maryland isn't great. Game before that, they lose at home to Minnesota. I get it. The Golden Gophers are tricky, right? They did the same exact thing with the late second half comeback against UCLA. But USC's lost 4 out of their last 5. Their only victory comes with a home win over the lowly Penn State Nittany Lions. Losses on the road in Northwestern, Purdue, Minnesota at home, and at Maryland as well. They're not a particularly great road team. They beat Illinois early in the year, which actually is probably, it's definitely their best win of the year. They lost to Indiana on the road. They got blown out there. I don't know. I'm just not sold with USC. They are 6-9 in the Big Ten, 14-12 overall. Again, Rutgers 6-10, 13-14 overall. The Trojans, led by Desmond Claude, averaging 15 points a game. Wesley Yates III, averaging 13. I think Rutgers on paper, though, is just I don't know if better team on paper, but again, it's just the team's Dylan Harper and Ace Bailey. It just is. Again, Dylan Harper averages 19, Ace Bailey averages 19. It's a very young squad. Obviously, they start 4 freshmen with 1 senior in there as well. But I'm willing to pick Rutgers here in this spot. Again, Jeremiah Williams, being that 1 senior in the lineup, actually had a pretty big game against Washington. Hit some clutch free throws in that game late in the second half. Did miss one as well. But regardless, Jeremiah Williams is the 1 senior who's got the captain patch on his jersey for the Scarlet Knights. But even with them being a 3.5-point favorite, I think they win here at home, and I think they cover. This is a game where I think they can slowly just take over and just run away from USC. USC's, again, been out on the East Coast for a while, playing Maryland earlier this week. It's the second game of this road trip. Again, USC, I'm not going to say their season's over, but it's not looking too great for them. I think Rutgers is able to catch them being the 3.5-point favorite. I think they win, and I think they cover the spread as well. So give me the Rutgers Scarlet Knights at home to win and cover against USC, especially a Rutgers team coming off a victory in the Pacific Northwest against the Washington Huskies. So folks, that'll do it for our 5 best bets here for college basketball here on February 23rd. If you have not yet, though, make sure to hit that subscribe button down below for more. Make sure to leave a like if you did enjoy the video. Make sure to comment if you do disagree with any of the picks. We'll be back tomorrow for more daily college basketball best bets. Folks, thank y'all for watching, and Mamba forever.